Hello, everyone. It is the end of the eighth inning of Game 1 of the ALDS, New York Yankees versus the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to get into what happens here at the end. We're going to get into all of our feelings right now on this game. It's had its ups, it's had its downs, but there is much to talk about on today's episode of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Guardians. I'm your host, Jeff Ellis. Before I hosted Locked On Guardians, I was the longtime writer at Scouting 24/7 when it came to the draft in baseball, though I got my start cutting my teeth back an Indians prospect insider about a decade ago. And that's where I met my co-host, Justin. Where had they followed you in the past or could follow you now?
Well, much like you, Jeff, I come from every Cleveland baseball blog you can imagine. ESPN Sweet Spot back in the day, Fansided at one point, the News Herald in Cleveland, or east of Cleveland, I should say. Guardians Baseball Insider now is where you can find all my written work. And like you, I cut my teeth covering prospects, and that's still what I do. So it's been an enjoyable season to watch prospects.
Sorry, that's anyone who with the pause is I tried to update something and it did not update. Yes, I want to thank you all for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day wherever you get podcasts. This time it is typed correctly if you're watching this live. So this is a frustrator. Like Stephen Kwan had that home run and they had a chance to blow this game open. They get the bases loaded kind of luckily. Josh Naylor has a real check swing hit and the bases are loaded. Oscar Gonzalez doesn't get it out of the infield. Andres Jimenez, who had the double earlier in the game, just nothing. Is that the first turning point in this game, do you feel?
The bases loaded opportunity?
Yes.
Yeah, it was probably the only turning point, really, at least offensively, because I'm struggling to think of other.
The Rosario double play.
In the seventh, that was about it. Or the sixth inning, yeah. Yeah, they really had two chances to score throughout the game outside of, Quan's solo homer, which, look, surprise, surprise, Cleveland's going to score its only run again on a home run, and this time it's going to cause them to potentially lose. Who would have thought Cleveland Guardians in the postseason relying on the home run ball, and it's worked twice. It doesn't look like it's going to work a third time.
No, all of their runs have come via home runs. I was joking online as I was watching this game. I had it on my phone as I'm doing like bedtime with my daughter. So it's like her being like, is watching that double, the bases loaded. Like, is that a good hit, Daddy? No, that's not a good hit. Nobody scored. Is that a good hit? No. And then the Yankees hit the home run. Is that a good hit? No, that's a very bad hit. That was kind of my evening. But like saying they're watching it, what would have been considered less likely? Quantrell striking out the first two batters or Harrison Bader and Stephen Kwan being the first two home runs in this series?
And that's what we talked about yesterday with Stacy, and I think you and I talked about it after the Tampa Bay series as well, as you cannot let the bottom of the Yankees order beat you. And I even wrote that today. My pregame thoughts was just Cal Quantrill couldn't let the bottom of the order beat him. He couldn't walk guys and get the Judge. And I don't think Judge batted with a runner on all day. I'm not sure if he did or not. I can't remember, but it's just ironic that he did great against Aaron Judge, struck him out twice, walked him third time, when he had no business being out there on the mound for a third time through the order. He did good against Aaron Judge, and he did good mostly against everybody. It was Harrison Bader and I don't know who hit the. It's inconsequential, but who hit the second home run?
Rizzo. It was Rizzo.
He shouldn't have been out there to face Anthony Rizzo. So, he was fine up until that. Cal Quantrill did everything you could have hoped for in that outing until his third time through the order when he shouldn't have been out there.
So I'm going to disagree with you. Because finally we're going to have some conflict because I felt like Quantrell was not sharp in this game because the first inning was great. And then the second inning is the two walks. He wasn't hitting the spots. The third inning was at the home. Like the first and the fourth are the only innings that he didn't at least let a base runner get to second. Like he was Like I said, the second was the 2 walks. The third was the home run, the home run. The fourth was a clean inning. The fifth is the one where like Donaldson. I loved, by the way, Mr. Old School. I'm gonna complain about Tim Anderson and how he plays the game. Doesn't run hard out of the bases and gets called out. That was just some great moments there. But he gives up that hit that is very nearly a home run. Oscar Gonzalez does misplay IKF's ball, but IKF still hit that ball well. So he gives up 2 hard hits in the fifth, is lucky to get out with only 1 run. To me, he wasn't sharp. Like I said, first inning, he's great. Second inning, he's walking guys. Third inning, he gives up the home run. Fourth inning, he gets through okay. Fifth inning, 2 hard hit. Like, I think Quantrell didn't actually pitch that well in this game.
I think he was fine for the 5th inning or the 6th inning. I don't think he pitched. I mean, yeah.
It wasn't poor, but like, it's definitely not where you want to send him a third time through this lineup, in my opinion. Like, there was no doubt.
I don't think he had any business being out there the 3rd time to the order. If you take out those at bats, and I know you can't do it, and he still get up the hits and still get up the runs and the walks, but I think the wise move would. It's easy for us to second guess, obviously, and play, Monday morning quarterback here. But yeah, I think he shouldn't have been out there to face Judge the 3rd time. It was the top of the order, 3rd time to the order penalty, and I don't know what Cal's numbers are 3rd time to the order, and I don't know. Everybody else in that instance either. But I don't know. Was he great? No, obviously we've seen ace-like performances from Bieber and McKenzie so far, and obviously Cal Quantrill is not that. But I think you got enough out of Cal Quantrill to say that you were in the game. And then by the time he came out of the game, it's 4 to run in the top of the 9th inning as we're still doing this. And it kind there was a point in the season
right now as we're going.
Yeah, there was a point in the season. It wasn't a long point. There were 2 points in the season. You could say sometimes you feel like this team's never out of a game, but there were points in the season where you felt like a 3-run deficit was like 13. That was probably that stretch between Baltimore and Seattle, and that's kind of what it feels like right now, given how they've hit so little in the postseason.
So I want to say, like, I don't think it was a bad outing by any means. I don't want it to come off as that, but I think basically what I'm more trying to hit on is I don't think he was super sharp. I think it was a solid outing. I don't think it was a great one. And I think everything leading up to that screams there's no way you send him out a 3rd time through the order. We know statistically 3rd time through the order is bad news. And
did you expect better? Did you expect him to be better than he was?
No, I thought he was Quantrell. I thought he was fine. Like, it's not a bad inning, but like, I guess for me, it's more that when you're looking at the sum of what he had done, there is no reason to send him out. Like, more than anything else, like, this wasn't like, yeah, you could look at him and be like, he's only thrown 73 pitches, but it had been a labored 73. He had not been super sharp. He wasn't hitting all of his spots. To me, it's more like it was a solid outing. It was a good outing. It was a Quantrell outing. He's your number 3 starter. You don't send him out against the team that scored the most runs in baseball, who has the best hitter in baseball, a 3rd time through. And for Tito, who I think maybe it was even you I saw who said this first. It's like, for someone who took this team deep in 2016 by micromanaging that pen, he didn't do it in this one. He just sent out a starter again, and it didn't make much sense.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if was that more forced into it because they didn't have Carlos Carrasco and Danny Salazar, and they just only had 2.5 pitchers at that point. Like, was that more forced that he did that? That was the only way they could win? I mean, I don't know. I think, like I said, I think Cal Quantrill got them as far as you could have expected. I think that's exactly what you wanted out of him, was 5 innings and 1 run, and it would have been tied. I'm sorry, that would have been 2-1 because of the error. Yeah. Although you could argue if Gonzalez plays that ball, or if Will Brennan's in right field, which we can get into, doesn't make that play, and it's still a 1-1 game because that only reason that run scored is a sac fly because of the error.
No, we're going to take our first break here. We're going to come back and talk about some of those questionable decisions. We're going to talk about the error. We're going to get into the good as well. I know some people are like, oh, this, I'm already angry. I don't want to talk about that. We're Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, even Trevor Stephan. There are some players that need their due as well. We're going to get into all of it. But first, let's talk about our fantastic brand new sponsor. I always love a new sponsor, and that is Roan. Listen, I am always looking for a comfortable work shirt. I like kind of the new age of comfortable work shirts. And this is the dress shirt that was due. The dress shirt was due for radical reinvention, and Roan stepped up to the challenge. Roan's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible shirt known to man. And here's why. Roan's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way. From your commute to work to 18 holes on the golf course, it's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt without hassle. With Roan's wrinkle-free release technology, wrinkles disappear as soon as you stretch and wear the shirt. It's that easy. With Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Roan is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry clean altogether. The commuter shirt can get you through your workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/lockedon. Use the promo code LOCKEDON to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/lockedon and use the code LOCKEDON. It's time to find your corner office comfort. I always am looking for a nice, comfortable, easy to wear shirt. When you teach, you got to wear it. And I might be checking out this deal at Roan myself. So go to Roan today, and we thank them for being a new sponsor. And the game's over. I was, looking at the ad, so I missed it. That's
appropriate.
It's a stinker. There's no way around it. This is a stinker of a game because there's so many things we can hit that are just. And we'll save let's end with positives. Let's end. Put that nice little refreshing bit there. But like I said, listen, the minute Quantrell was sent back in, I'm like, it's playing with fire. And then it was. And then the minute that Amed situation stepped up, I'm like, double play time. Let's get into, this is the thing that probably makes our listeners on YouTube the most irate. But let's get into Tito. Let's talk about it. My general view, it's the same things we've seen all year. Like, it's Amed in the 2-hole just because he gets a lot of hits, ignoring the fact he leads his team in double plays. It's Brennan as the DH over Oscar Gonzalez because you want to leave Oscar in for the whole game, and you're probably going to pinch hit for Brennan with Owen Miller because Owen Miller can hit lefties even though he can't. It's leaving it. It's trusting your starter too long instead of going to Stefan right there in the 6. It's all those things. You talked about. Maybe you're right. I think that Tito at his best is the guy who was a micromanaging fiend in 2016. And I wish we saw more of that. I wish we saw that guy who was doing more micromanaging, not letting Austin Hedges hit in the 7th, not, leaving the starter in there. Your thoughts on what felt like a mismanaged game?
Yeah. Look, I only preface it by saying I don't think this team is where they are without Francona. I think I think he did a fine job this season. And I think most of what a manager does well is probably, or what is most important is probably behind the scenes. Stuff doesn't happen game to game. There are only so many points during a baseball game that a manager can really assert influence or change the direction of a game. And unfortunately, I think some of those things do pop up like that. And the lineup is one of those things, like you said, with Amed and the bullpen usage. Those are the things that do make a difference. So it's a double-edged sword for sure. I don't think they are. I think he creates a good culture, and
I think it's the things you can't measure. But in the game, this was an ugly.
I just don't understand why Will Brennan's not in right field. Like the other day, I think before the Rays game when they were playing Tyler Glass, they're playing against Tyler Glass now, and I said, well, if Cash pulls a fast one and maybe Glass now goes twice through the order, and they bring in Jeffrey Springs or Jalen Beeks or whoever out of the lefties out of the bullpen they had, he would pinch hit Miller for Brennan, and that's why Brennan was the DH. And I said, okay, I don't agree with that, but I understand why he does that. But he ended up doing it here in the 9th inning for against Wandy Peralta. But
yeah,
I don't know. Owen Miller is a better hitter against lefties than Josh Naylor, but I don't think he's a better hitter against lefties than Will Brennan. So I would rather see it for Naylor than I would Brennan. And like we talked about before, Cleveland has to win on the margins. That means playing good defense. And Will Brennan is a superior defender to Oscar Gonzalez. Oscar Gonzalez, I know it's one mistake, it's one error, but I think I have yet to talk to anybody who thinks that Gonzalez was a good defender as a prospect, and there are no metrics out there that back up him being a good defensive outfielder either.
No, I mean, I get it from people who, but like, I just threw up earlier in the day, not like physically, though you could have watching this game, but like if you go to his baseball savant page, his outs above average is 10, his outfield jump is 16, his arm strength's 99, and we saw that. I mean, he did help get that out on Donaldson, but
if Donaldson
I mean,
hustles,
it was very clear,
doesn't
like
make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference, but yeah, but it's one of those things. Like he is. Well, like I said, I send him out there until he proves he can't. That's kind of my view on Oscar, and I'm just going to leave it there because I know it's been a hot button issue, my view on him. But defense, I mean, he's a DH. Let's be honest. Like he is a DH, and not it hurts your team when we saw it. We just literally saw it. Now it ended up being minorly inconsequential because then they overextended Quantrell and he gave up the 2-run home run. The Yankees, that lineup has 2 super dangerous hitters. I mean, there's a lot of really, but like LeMahieu is hurt as well. Like this is a very Scott Efros, who we talked, at least maybe I've talked about on this show. Like he's getting Tommy John. That's why he's not on this roster. Clay Holmes pitched today, but I mean, this is a really beat up bullpen, and they kept letting Garrett Cole off the hook, and they barely touched the bullpen. Now there's an off day. There might be 2 off days depending on weather. I mean, if you listen to the game, Bob Costa seemed to care more about rain than the Guardians, but like. It's all those little things of the margins. It's like I said, it's not getting Cole out of there. It's knowing that they have 2 guys who can really hurt you, and then leaving in Quantrell again. It's just, and again, he pitched a Quantrell game, but in it's no longer the regular season. You definitely just go to your pen there. Judge and Rizzo is as scary as it gets.
And that's where they have their advantage, the bullpen. Like, and there's an off day tomorrow on Wednesday, so you can go out there and you can bring guys in early. And I get, you might think, well, we just played a 15-inning game, maybe we should be careful. But you got to win the game. Francona has always said, win the game in front of you. And I think going to the bullpen there in the 5th inning or the start of the 6th inning is winning the game in front of you, especially with an off day the next day. And they said Savali was in the bullpen for game 1, and they reassessed after. So you had, and Plesac still on the team, so you had emergency guys. Morris is a little bit stretched out, so I just don't understand not going to the bullpen earlier.
Yeah, I thought, like, the other side of it, like I thought Boone played his hand perfectly, like just going to Loasinga when he did, who might be like the most consistent reliever they've had down. Like they went to their best reliever in the high leverage situation, like, and then he played the lefties and brought out. Like I thought he managed perfectly in this game, and I thought that also stood out as well in this.
Well, we knew that New York was going to ride their starter as long as they could, and everybody kept saying, "Well, they're driving up his pitch count. They're driving up his pitch count." And he was at like 70 pitches through 4 innings or something, and I'm like, "That's great if you can get into the bullpen, but they're not going to be scared off by a high pitch count because he's going to come back on full rest in Game 4 if they make it that far." And there's an off day tomorrow. They're gonna. It's Garrett Cole. I mean, I wrote today that what he gave 33 home runs this year, as Stacy told us, or you told us.
Yeah, led the majors.
10 of those came in the first inning. His ERA this year was 4.90 in the first inning. I think in the 5th inning it was like 4.27. And I don't know if those are like super concrete stats that you can say that are accurate without context. Maybe there's context to those, but the first inning is when you get to Garrett Cole. They didn't get to him in the first inning. The pitch count was inconsequential because he became Garrett Cole after the first inning. He did allow the home run to Stephen Kwan, but after the first inning, he pitched like Garrett Cole. And that was the problem. The pitch count didn't matter. They were going to let him go as long as they absolutely could.
That was one of the 2 things that like stood out. Bob Costa saying he was near the league leaders in home runs. I'm like, no, he was the league leader. Like, and then did you catch the part where he talked about Jose Ramirez being part of the international draft that has never existed?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he knows something we don't. I don't know.
I was like, there were a little bits like that throughout. But though, to me, I think the low point of this whole game, let me know if you agree or not, was the horrific break-in. Like, I'm going to be old man, get off my yard type of moment. But the fake news report on the Dragon, like, to me, that was that. Does anyone like? I can see the chat. Sorry, chat. I haven't really responded or thrown anything up yet, but I see it. Thank you, Jesus, and Kyle and Zook and Chris in there. But to to the chat over here, did any of you guys also think like that was just the oddest thing? Like, I mean, I know we're supposed to talk about baseball, but in the game, I was like, what are we doing? Like the whole Bob Costas of it all was a little bit overwhelming tonight. I thought, as just a fan perspective, to take a break from our feelings on the game. But
I didn't make sense.
Yeah. Speaking of taking a break, we should take a quick sponsor break here and talk about listen, I know sponsors are like children. You're not supposed to have favorites, but I do. And my favorite is Built Bar. Justin has not gotten to experience the joy that is Built Bar, but for me, this is a product since they introduced it and sent us our first box. I'm just going to be honest. This is the one sponsor I buy from. This is the one who gets my own money. I go and buy Built Bars. They have a trick or treat bag right now. You get a free Halloween bag with any purchase over $65. And pumpkin pie puff with white chocolate is their current flavor. I'm hoping they'll send that. I am one of those people who is a fan of pumpkin. I am part of the problem, not part of the solution. But if you like pumpkin, and then Stacy on the show yesterday beforehand, we were talking, was like how much she loved the mud pie puff. That they sent us a trial of that. I got some Cougar Tails, which is their BYU sponsorship. No matter how you feel about it, it tastes like a maple donut to a degree on the outside. It has that real maple taste. I am enjoying that right now. Listen, I buy Built Bar. I honestly do. This is the one product I can be like, I buy this. I spend my own money. When I go there, I use our promo code LOCKED15 because that's the best way to save money as well. It is a product I buy. It's a product I love. Sitting here staring at the pumpkin pie. I'm going to close this tab before I buy myself a box. Go check out Built Bar. I try a lot of protein bars. It has been the only one that I've ever enjoyed. Honestly, just end of the day, nothing stands close. Go check out Built Bar for yourself. Remember that promo code is LOCK15. And we are back. I do appreciate, I have Pork Chop and Juice here, both talking about the dragon spot being cringe. So some bonus talk.
Juice Springsteen. That's a great handle, by the way. Juice Springsteen. Kudos.
And Pork Chop is buying our stuff. I can tell you Sully loves the raspberry. Listen, I don't know how much people can see the background. Like I've got my stack of board games over here. I am a huge nerd. I like things nerd, but I found that to be a terrible spot. So let's listen. I know that we're going to get hammered for being too negative. And especially on an off day, we talked about the issues. I think it really comes down to the last point of negativity, bases loaded with not getting anything, the error, Quantrell, and the Rosario GIDP, right? Do you think those are the four kind of big moments in this game? And then we can move off after that.
Yeah, not pulling Quantrill, the error in right field, and then not scoring. I mean, you could say too, Hedges. I think that was an error on the steal from Judge. Not that it mattered because they gave up he got the home run after that. But
I don't know why you even throw it there.
Yeah, but I mean, this team really can't afford to make errors, and you can't have an error from Austin Hedges. We wish Austin Hedges was Aaron Judge. Yeah,
be nice.
You can't get an error from your catcher who is in there for defense and not for offense. Like that. That's one thing you can't have. Like Oscar Gonzalez is not in there for his defense. He's in there for his offense. He makes an error. Okay. Like you expect that, but Austin Hedges can't have that. Not that I know how important he is to the pitching staff and not how important he is to this team, but he can't be out there making errors. Like that's an absolute nothing because he gives you nothing with the bat. So yeah.
So
that's negative.
For a comparison of bullpens, they went 2 2/3 with their bullpen, 2 hits, 1 strikeout. Cleveland went 3 innings, gave up 1 hit with 2 strikeouts. The bullpen was as advertised. The only hit once that pen came in was De Los Santos. Now, I mean, on the other side of it, one can say, like, honestly, with the way things played out, everything that happened with Quantrell in the 6th doesn't matter because essentially once that error happened, we now see Cleveland couldn't get anything else across, which is, looking at this team, Kwan and Jose, they were great. Jose had reached base 3 times. Kwan reached base twice and had the home run. I always talk about my little box score bingo. It's like Cleveland had, by like the metrics I go through, is just a quick hit. It's like they should have had 2 to 3 runs. They got 1. The lineup is scuffling right now. Do you think that's I mean, I know we're okay. No, let's not. Let's keep it positive. What did you think about Jose? What do you think about Steve Kwan? What do you think? Is this park perfectly made for Stephen Kwan? Like,
Oh, it is. Absolutely. I mean, let's not put lipstick on a pig here. The offense is bad. You don't have to just move on from the negative. I'm sorry. This offense has scored 4 runs in the postseason in 33 innings. Okay.
That's not
bad.
good.
That's not generally good. Not from how I understand baseball. Maybe I understand baseball wrong.
in what was 1928 when they last won their first World Series. That seems about right. 4 runs for 33 innings.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But no, Jose looked good. I mean, that's I guess if you want to point at silver linings, I think that first at bat, I don't think he got a hit in that first at bat, but you could tell in that first at bat he was fouling off a lot of pitches from Cole. Yeah, because he struck out in the first at bat. I think you could tell he was fouling off a lot of pitches, and that's usually when you could see Jose is good, is when he's in there battling and fouling off a lot of pitches. Quan, all of his at bats were fantastic. In the first at bat, he was fouling stuff off. He looked good, spoiling pitches left and right. You're right. This park was made for him. And he gets a fastball anywhere on the inner third of the plate. He is yanking it to right field. That's great. I think Mike Petriello of MLB.com tweeted earlier today about how perfect it would be for him to hit home run. And I said his best numbers this year come against four-seam fastballs. And Garrett Cole, what does he do? He throws four-seam fastballs more than half the time, and he left one middle cut for Stephen Kwan, and Stephen Kwan did what he's supposed to do against those pitches, what he's been training to do, and he did it. And I'll even give Andres Gimenez a little credit. I know he didn't come through with the bases loaded. I know he chased the pitches out of the zone. Let's also say this, Jeff. Garrett Cole is still a good pitcher.
Yes.
I know his numbers suggest he's not as good as he has
He's
been.
a number 2 now, which is still an excellent pitcher, but he's like a traditional more of a number 2.
He led baseball in strikeouts among starters for a reason. He's not a bad
pitcher. Doesn't
pitcher.
happen accidentally.
Yeah. Did he give a lot of home runs? Did he struggle? Is he not worth all the money he's being paid? I don't know. That's probably up for debate, but he's still a very good pitcher. So let's say Cleveland's offense is scuffling. They also went up against a very good pitcher. I will at least say that Andres Gimenez, after a platinum sombrero in Game 2 against the Rays, he had a double tonight. I'll take that as an encouraging sign because they need him to hit, and I know the other bats weren't great, but at least you can say, okay, he got a hit. Maybe that makes him feel a little bit better, and he can, lock back in and feel a little more confident, because this game is about confidence.
Yeah, I mean, the only other people to reach base were Amed getting plunked and Miles Straw. Should we take a moment and Miles Straw continues to be, the excellent defender he is. He had the hit there before, he got a hit, then Kwan, then the double play. But he's also in an extremely negative environment right now. Let's just put it this way. We have rules about what we can say on the podcast. I can't repeat what they were chanting about Straw in this game because of, the whole April situation and what went down. Right now, if there's ever a time for people to rally around Miles Straw, it might be this series. If you're annoyed, he was the guy who was the centerpiece back in April, talking about defending his teammates, defending Stephen Kwan. And, maybe it wasn't a huge performance, but he came through more than others did.
He did. He's been fine this postseason. He had a couple hits, and he had a hit in extra innings against Tampa Bay in Game 2. I think he's hitting, these are super small samples, and it's been 3 games, but he's hitting 300 in the playoffs so far. You'll take that because that's not what he did in the regular season. Miles Straw has not been a detriment at all in the playoffs. It's been, I know someone, Jesus Perez just said, or no, I'm sorry, it was Juice Springsteen who said, is the bottom of the order a liability? Is their batting order change that can make this more competitive? And I don't know. They didn't even pinch hit for Austin Hedges. They pinch hit or did they end up pitching it? Yeah, they did. They pinch hit for the 9th inning.
Will Benson, who hasn't been off the bench in 2 weeks. Inning? Yeah,
I know.
But and then the same thing. It's speaking of the chat, let's see how this works. I've never done this before. Ready? Let's see what happens. So, hey, getting to see. So what Brett said here. Yeah, I agree. Listen, there's a lot of Josh Naylor in the news. We're gonna. Here's what I'm gonna say. I'm a middle school teacher by day, special ed middle school teacher by day. 15-year-old kids say things for effect, and by and large have so many hormones in their body they are dumb. So I think the bigger story with Josh Naylor is going and digging up when he played a prank on his teammate with the Marlins and stabbed somebody than what came up today.
Yeah.
That is a true story. He's someone who he's a silly guy. I think his teammates love him. I don't think there's anything there. I think he is that guy, much like, honestly, I was at points in time, who not always is good at seeing the line. And I think we saw that come up. But the line for him statistically, to bring it back around, has been rough. And I mean, there were points where he was just swinging at anything. Like, it felt like, I thought maybe he would feel comfortable because of that 2020 postseason. But I feel like he's pressing. Your thoughts?
I mean, we knew he was going to get a ton of curveballs. Like, the numbers say he's bad against curveballs. Garrett Cole has a great curveball. That was like, the most obvious point of attack for him. And he swung and missed it a ton. And he was, late on the fastball because maybe he was looking for a curveball and he took a fastball. So, hey, Garrett Cole had him out of rhythm. That's what Garrett Cole does. So, I don't know what you're going to do there. Guys are who they are. They are good at what they're good at. They're not good at what they're not good at the moment. And that's why you have advanced scouts going out and telling you this is what you can do. And this is the game plan you should take. And the team that executes their game, I know it's boring, but the team that executes their game plan wins. And Garrett Cole basically executed.
I'll be curious to see what Naylor does, just because, listen, a year ago, he wasn't good. Even before his knee injury, he was kind of a below average bat. And in spite of his injury, that dude could barely walk, and he worked his tail off and came back and was excellent this year. So I'm not gonna doubt him. I'm gonna see what he absolutely can do. I'm curious to see the work he'll put in this offseason. But I think his transformation in some respects probably doesn't get as much credit as it deserves, just because it's like we focus on the injury, but it's like he had a below league average runs created plus last year. He had been a guy who couldn't break through in San Diego and get opportunities. He was already on his third organization. So I think a lot of credit, and I'll be very curious to see how he works this offseason, but I'm hoping he'll, this is a hot and cold team, and hopefully it'll click on for him and he's going to be that guy.
Yeah.
I saw a question about Bo with Bo, and I don't think we see Bo at all. I've said from the beginning, I think he's almost more likely to be a pinch runner than anything else. Yeah,
the only thing you can really see him is if they a lot or they're up by a lot. Otherwise, he's just there, and so you can pinch it for Hedges, and you can put Maile in as a defensive replacement, and then just in case the worst happens to Maile, you have him. It's like a safety blanket. That's really what he is. Which, you know what? I think I said this the other day. I said if Cleveland goes to their bench, it's not a good thing. They have to rely on the guys that got him here, and I'll be curious to see what happens.
It's not a good bench. Let's just be honest about it. That is a pretty ugly looking bench. I mean, you can make a case that Owen Miller is the best hitter on this bench. And I'll again say that he is the 25th worst hitter in baseball this year.
Yeah. That's something we could talk about when the season's over, is upgrading the bench. But we can save this for Tuesday's show heading into Wednesday. But I'll be curious to see the lineup on Thursday if they play, because it's supposed to be really rainy in New York. But I'll be curious to see what happens with the lineup, because Nestor Cortes is starting game 2, as we know, and you're going to have
ready for more Owen Miller.
You're going to have to pick a lefty. It's going to have to either be Will Brennan or Josh Naylor, and it's probably going to be Josh Naylor, even though the numbers say he's not good, and Will Brennan's numbers in the minors against lefties are not great, but they're also not horrid, and it's just going to be one of those things where he doesn't have a lot of big league experience against lefties, and he'll probably get squeezed out and saved for a pinch hitter. So, which means Oscar Gonzalez in right field again.
At the same time, I'll say, yes. At the same time, I'll say, man, Brennan did not look good tonight. That's the other. Maybe it'd be helpful if he was out there playing in the field. Maybe it'd be a little less to think about. And said, there are those guys who do not respond well to not playing. And I wonder if maybe that could be something that could just help him as being out there defensively. He's not used to DHing. This is a new role for him.
Right. There are people out there on Twitter who are arguing with me about his defense, and he's not a right fielder, and he hasn't played a lot about right field. And I'm like, no, he's a good center fielder. He pitched in college. He's got a good arm. Yeah, he was at 93 in college. Will Brennan, I'm sorry,
two-way prospect. Legit.
If you ask anybody who has seen both Gonzalez and Brennan in the minors, they will all tell you Brennan is the superior defender. It doesn't matter what position. He can play all three. If you play if you play an average center field, you are by default an above average right fielder. So I'm not going to listen to that argument. Sorry.
No. And the only question, honestly, when you go from center to right is arm, and he's got the arm. Like when he was drafted,
so does Gonzalez, but yeah.
Well, definitely, but some center fielders don't have the arm for right. He definitely has the arm for right. And when he was drafted, he was actually drafted as a two-way designation. And I thought like, oh, he can be a fourth outfielder or a lefty reliever. I thought like the arm isn't an issue. Excuse me.
And I will.
Also, I think he could. Yeah. I love one last, and then I'll let it go to you. I wish I could give credit. I saw someone talking about Gonzalez being like the Shin-Chu experience, and I'm like, that's a good comp.
Oh yeah, who was that? Was that our old friend Kevin Dean? I think
it could be.
I think it was our old friend Kevin Dean, former IBI writer as well. Yeah. Kevin knows a heck of a lot about baseball.
That was a great call. I just wanted to throw that out there. I should try and dig it up to give him credit, but I thought that was a very wise call.
Yeah, no, it's true. He's got some tools that you would think would make him a good defensive outfielder, but there are just things. And again, it's one play. This isn't a sit here and bash Oscar Gonzalez fest. It's not what it's meant to do, because obviously they're not here without him, because he had a great regular season and he hit a home run to get him in the play into this round. But it's just a bad play, and that's when you have a better option. Maybe we're blaming the wrong person. Maybe Oscar's defensive play is not his fault. Maybe it's the fact that he should have been the DH. And I will give credit to the Yankees too. The one, and I said it a few weeks ago when we were talking about Will Brennan's hot start, and I said the only thing that surprises me is how aggressive he's been, and he was super aggressive tonight. And that was kind of the report out there on him, is that the one way you beat him is by making him get himself out and chasing, and he chased breaking balls in the dirt. The Yankees had the scouting report on him, and it worked. So he's got to adjust back.
Credit to John Henry Graham.
That's who it was. Okay.
That's who it was. Just to give credit where it's due. I thought that was a great tweet. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah. And let's see. I mean, Oscar won him the last round, but he's there for the bat. And yeah, it's just, and again, I agree. You don't put the blame on him. You look at the choice to put him there, and you and I both agree. We understand there is a logic to it. We just don't agree with the logic.
Yeah. It just took him forever to pinch hit for Will Brennan with Owen Miller. And I would rather see Owen Miller all things considered, I would rather see Owen Miller pinch it for Josh Naylor, if that's the way you're going to go.
Or Austin Hedges. Like if you're going to come out for,
but the whole point is if Will Brennan is DHing, then you're obviously saving him for Owen Miller. And they didn't do that in game 2 against the Rays. They did it tonight, but in the 9th inning. I think they should have done it with Hedges in the 7th inning, but I don't know, they didn't. So that's, again, like I said, that we can second guess all day, and things didn't work out. They've got to take one in New York, and now they've got to face a left-hander who's arguably been better than Garrett Cole this year, so it doesn't get any easier.
I don't even think it's arguable. He's been better than Garrett Cole. I mean, he's one of the top lefties in baseball for a lineup that struggles with lefties. You needed to get this game. This was the one. I mean, Shane Bieber was absolutely nails in game 1, but I don't feel good about tomorrow. Should we? I mean, or not tomorrow. Thursday, maybe Friday. We'll see how weather goes. I'm predicting they're going to be down 0-2. I'm going to go ahead and say that. Nestor Cortes is I felt like you had to get this win here, because Cortes is literally the worst matchup they could have.
I hate to agree with you for all of our listeners and the fact that we mostly always agree, but I really can't think of a reason other than the fact that sometimes this team defies logic and does weird things. I thought, they've come back against bullpens all year long, and I forget what inning it was against Peralta. They had somebody on, or Loizaga gave up 2 hits and they pulled him.
Yeah, it was Loizaga.
Okay. Yeah. So they had 2 hits against him, and I'm like, oh, well.
Then they got the lefty for Naylor, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, right, exactly. I thought once they had 2 hits against Loizaga, I said, well, maybe this is where they do it, because they've been doing it all year long and they didn't. So maybe they'll defy logic again on Thursday. That's the only thing you can really think of, is because Jeff's right. That's a bad matchup, and you hope that they continue to defy logic.
The one thing I will say is this series, I think, actually sets up to favor Cleveland the longer it goes, because then games get compacted. Yankees bullpen being in shambles right now is going to hurt them as we move on. So 3, 4, and 5, like less spacing. Like if Cleveland can start with, like, I know we may not be in complete agreement, but I do think as these games compact down. And in a way, getting rained out on Thursday, if they then have to just play all the games in a row, I think that benefits Cleveland. So I'm actually going to root for rain on Thursday. That's me personally. If they don't build in any other, if they just move the game one forward so then everything is smashed, I'm good with less off days. I think less off days benefits Cleveland more than the Yankees.
Yeah, sort of, because they have the edge in the bullpen. I think there's some ways it doesn't. So, but we can save that for another day. I do disagree with you a little, but we can save it for another day.
There we go. We'll have some disagreement on tomorrow's show. So make sure to tune in for Justin and myself. I want to thank everyone who's listening and subscribing. We are having some of our best weeks ever on Locked On Guardians. So thank you all. Remember to subscribe on YouTube. That getting to 1,000 would be huge, huge, huge for us. So thank you for that. And how we end every show. Go, go, Guardians, go.